The calm before Power's first Valari ship entered Earth's orbit without any trouble. It was a beautiful silver cruiser, long and curved like a blade. Lights blinked softly along its hull inside. Ambassador Talik stood tall, his blue skin glowing under the ship's pale lighting. His people had visited hundreds of worlds. Earth was supposed to be the same primitive, peaceful. Maybe a little confused, he expected small weapons, old computers, and hopeful smiles instead. He found something different. Not fear, not pride. Confidence. The Earth delegation welcomed the Valari with open arms. Talik stepped onto the United Earth Council platform, expecting nervousness. Instead, he saw calm eyes. A woman named Commander Amina led the welcome. Her tone was polite. Her face warm, but her words, careful. Welcome to Earth, she said. We're glad you came in peace. Talik smiled. Peace is our way. They shook hands, cameras flashed. News channels across Earth called it a historic moment, but somewhere in the Indian Ocean, far below the surface, an invisible satellite picked up something strange, a second ship. Not Valari, not human. Hidden, silent, watching. At the Valari research station in orbit, a junior officer ran to his superior. We found something unusual, he said. What is it? The humans' moon base. It's not what we expected. Explain. It's advanced. Shielded, and there's more. There's a signal coming from the far side, strong, but disguised. The superior frowned. They're hiding tech. No, the officer said. They're hiding something bigger. On Earth, everything remained peaceful. Talik was offered a tour of the cities. He walked through Tokyo, New Paris, New Cairo. The people were kind, the air clean, technology simple but efficient. It all felt too perfect. Like a performance, he asked Commander Amina, your cities are very balanced. Your people seem happy. She smiled. We've learned how to survive. In silence, Talik didn't ask more, but in his private chamber, he sent a message to the Valari High Council. Earth is calm. To calm, we will investigate further. The next day, a Valari scout drone entered Earth's upper atmosphere. It was invisible to most sensors, fast, quiet, designed to gather data without being seen, but the drone never returned. Its last message was a short, scrambled signal for seconds of static. Then silence. In orbit, the Valari ship picked up an unusual energy spike near Earth's moon. One officer said, should we ask them about it? Talik shook his head. Not yet, let's wait. But Earth didn't wait. That night, as Talik prepared for a quiet rest, a message came through his private console. It wasn't sent through normal communication lines. The screen flickered. A human voice, calm, slow, spoke. You lost a drone. We found it. Next time, just ask. Then the screen went black. Talik stared in shock. How had they bypassed his encrypted channel? He contacted the Valari homeworld immediately. They knew, he said. They've been watching us the whole time. The council replied, Earth is young. If they are strong, they would show it. Talik whispered. No, they're showing it by not showing it. The next morning, Valari ships moved slightly closer to Earth for safety. They claimed just a test, but 3 ships suddenly went dark for exactly 90 seconds. No power, no signal, no lights. And then, all at once, they came back online. No damage, no explanation. Just a message left on each ship's internal system inside our range. Now, Talik demanded a direct meeting with Earth's command in the main hall. He faced Commander Amina again. You disabled our ships, he said. She raised an eyebrow. We didn't touch them. Then who did? She leaned forward, voice low but steady. There are things in our orbit that even we don't fully control. Not weapons, systems, protocols. They watch what we allow them to watch. Talik felt a chill run down his back. Why act like you are peaceful if you have this power? Her smile faded. We are peaceful. That's why we keep our power hidden back. On the Valari flagship, Talik stood in silence as his crew ran diagnostics. One officer whispered, we shouldn't have come here. Talik stared at the Earth through the window. They welcomed us, gave us food, spoke with kindness. He paused. But if we had landed with weapons instead of words, the officer asked, what would have happened? Talik turned away. They would have erased us before we touched the ground. Above the moon, something moved for a second. Just 1 second, a ship appeared, massive, dark, completely silent. No heat signature, no ID. Then it vanished again. Talik saw it. He knew what it meant. Earth wasn't showing force, they were giving a warning, a soft whisper between galaxies. We came in peace. You should pray you did too. A new story was about to begin. And Earth hadn't even spoken loudly yet. They didn't need to. Their silence said everything. Asterisk hidden in plain sight in the quiet of space above Earth. The Valari ships held position. Their weapons were offline, their engines humming low. Everything looked peaceful. But inside the main command bridge of the Valari cruiser Celestian Grace, tension had begun to grow. Ambassador Talik paced slowly near the observation window. The image of that massive human ship, the one that had appeared and vanished above the moon, still haunted him. No heat, no engine trail, no visible weapon systems, and yet, in that 1 second, it had spoken louder than any fleet Talek had seen. War before, he knew what strength looked like. This was something else. Something worse. He turned to his chief tech officer. Have we confirmed if the humans saw the drone before it fell? They didn't just see it, the officer replied. They rerouted its course, took control midair, and gave it back. The officer nodded slowly. Talek's expression tightened. They're not just watching us. They're letting us know they see everything. At that moment, an alert chimed. One of the Scout-class Volari shuttles, orbiting Earth's upper atmosphere, had gone silent. Another one? Talek asked. No damage, said the system's monitor, but it's just floating. All systems offline. Something turned it off, then left it. Can we bring it back? No. Every command we send gets returned exactly as we send it, word for word, like a mirror. Talek didn't speak for a full minute. Down on Earth, in a secure underground facility beneath the North American continent, 3 humans sat around a silent table. They weren't generals, not politicians, not even soldiers. Just observers. We let the first drone go, one of them said. Then they sent another, said the second. The third one finally spoke, calm and clear. They're looking for our limits. Should we show them? The third person shook her head. Not yet. Let them look. She pressed a button. Somewhere in orbit, the Volari shuttle suddenly powered back on and drifted gently to its original path. But as it did, a new image flashed briefly on its interior screen, a single human eye, surrounded by stars, on the Volari ship. The crew stared at the image, frozen. Talek gave the order. Tell the High Council, Earth is not what we thought. They already think we're overreacting. His advisor replied. Then tell them this time, we might be too late. Back in Earth's orbit, human systems continued their silent observation. Dozens of cloaked satellites hovered unseen. They didn't move fast, didn't make noise, and didn't even respond to standard alien scans. They were never meant to fight. They were meant to watch. Earth had learned long ago that the most powerful weapon was awareness. Know where the threat is. Know when it moves. Know when to act. And wait until the enemy shows its teeth first. In the Volari capital chamber, the council received Talek's message. They watched the drone footage. They reviewed the reports, but they had already made up their minds. One counselor stood. Earth has been isolated for centuries. They are cautious, not dangerous, another said. Their surface cities are quiet. Their trade tech is limited. Their military is minimal. Talek's voice came through the screen. They are acting. What do you mean? Talek leaned forward. They knew we were spying. And instead of stopping us, they let us continue. They are setting boundaries without speaking. That's not weakness, that's control. One counselor scoffed. Then test it. A decision was made. A Volari stealth ship would enter low Earth orbit, fully cloaked. Unarmed. Just to see what happened. They launched it an hour later. It entered Earth's atmosphere without trouble, but within 60 seconds, it vanished from the sensors. The Volari crew waited. No crash. No explosion. Just gone. 3 hours passed. Then the ship reappeared. Same altitude, same path, but different. The inside was completely clean. All data had been erased. Every system factory reset. And on the main screen, a message waited. Curiosity is expected. Invasion is not. Talek read the message aloud. His crew remained silent. They gave it back again. One officer whispered, but only after erasing what they saw. Said another. No, Talek corrected. They didn't erase it. They stored it for later. And they're telling us to stop. Kindly, he turned to the stars. If we don't, I don't think they'll be kind next time. On Earth, Commander Amina watched the stars from her office. She received a report. Volari stealth craft returned. No resistance shown. She nodded. Good. Her aide asked, how long do we let them test us? As long as they need to believe they're still in control. And after that, Commander Amina smiled faintly. Then we remind them we never weren't. She turned back to the window. They came thinking we were the new species. She narrowed her eyes. But some masks are worn for comfort. Ours is worn so they keep theirs on up in orbit. A human ship decloaked for exactly 3 seconds just outside the Volari bridge window. No sound. No warning. Just presence. Then it vanished again. Talek stood frozen. He didn't call for weapons. He didn't send a message. He just whispered to himself. We should have asked them what they were hiding. And now, he knew. They were hiding themselves. And what came next was no longer diplomacy. It would be revelation. The mask cracks. The Volari fleet hovered above Earth in perfect silence. To anyone watching from space, it looked peaceful, a quiet diplomatic mission between two species. But under the calm exterior, both sides were testing limits. And those limits were beginning to crack. Inside the flagship Celestian Grace, Ambassador Talek stood in front of a large screen, watching the replay of the human warship that had briefly appeared near their position. The image was blurry, only a few seconds long, but clear enough. It hadn't made a sound, no heat, no energy spike, yet it had moved into visual range, made itself known and vanished again. Not an accident, a message. They're showing us they can appear wherever they want, Talek said quietly. His communications officer replied. They did not threaten us, no, Talek nodded, but they no longer need to in Earth's orbit. A Valari support cruiser shifted slightly toward the planet, just a minor movement within protocol. It drifted a few kilometers closer to Earth's upper atmosphere. Nothing happened, encouraged. Two more ships adjusted their positions, then a soft signal cut through their systems. Not from a missile, not from radar, a voice, you are inside our range. This is your reminder, no coordinates. No signature. No emotion. Just facts, and just like that. Power across all three Valari ships dropped to 30%. Weapons locked, engines paused, lights flickered but never failed, then everything came back. No damage, just a warning. Back on Earth, Commander Amina sat in her darkened command chamber. Eyes focused on a star map rotating slowly in front of her. She had known this day would come sooner or later. Someone would try to test the mask Earth wore, the calm, kind, cooperative mask. It had worked for a long time. After the wars of the past century, Earth had chosen restraint, peace, observation. But not because they were weak, because they were prepared. She tapped the console. A cloaked fleet blinked into her display, hidden behind the shadow of Earth's moon, a dozen ships, fully armed. Silent guardians, they've had their chance, she said. In the Valari ship, a small council gathered around Talek. They whispered nervously, this is not a young race. One said, they knew we were watching from the start. They've done everything calmly, said another, but each time we push, they answer, and still, no threats. Someone muttered. Talek turned to them, that's the point, they don't have to threaten. They only react, and every time they do, they react just enough. A younger officer, still proud, stepped forward, then we provoke further. Force them to show their full power. Talek stared at him for a long time. No, he said finally. Because what they've shown so far is still them being polite. Meanwhile, on the Valari homeworld, the High Council was growing impatient. Reports from Earth were too cautious, too uncertain. They sent a direct order to Talek, engage deeper, move into lower orbit, scan their military structures, report on their true capabilities. Talek read the message, his jaw tightening. He knew what this meant. They wanted proof. Even if it meant pushing Earth past its patience. Hours later, a Valari scout vessel descended into Earth's lower atmosphere. It flew silently over the Pacific Ocean. No weapons active. Its mission was to scan and retreat, nothing more. Below it, only water and clouds. But then the ocean rippled, something moved, a dark shadow rose from the deep. Directly below the scout, a structure. No, not a structure, a ship. Massive, black, covered in glowing veins of blue. It wasn't flying. It was waiting. The scout ship turned immediately, trying to pull up. Then the human ship sent a single pulse upward, not a blast, a signal. The Valari ship froze in midair. Engines locked. Sensors scrambled. It hovered, helpless. A voice entered their system again. This is not a threat. This is a line. Do not cross it again. Then the scout was released. It flew back to orbit untouched, but changed forever. Talek stood in silence as the scout's captain recounted the event. The entire council room aboard the Valari ship had gone cold. They didn't fire, the captain said. They didn't damage us, but they were beneath us the whole time. They let us come close. They watched. Talek asked quietly, how big was the ship? Bigger than anything we've seen, and we only saw part of it. No one moved for several moments, then Talek spoke again. Send one final message to the High Council. Tell them Earth doesn't just have power. He paused. They have control. In her office, Commander Amina received the report of the Valari retreat. She exhaled slowly. No celebration, no relief. Just confirmation. They still didn't understand the full truth, but they had come close. Outside her window, stars drifted slowly by, peaceful. That was the part people saw, the calm skies. The gentle voices, the open hands, but below the surface. In the places no outsider had seen, Earth's mask was cracking, and behind it was not rage, not pride. Just precision, and that was more terrifying than anything else. Asterisk power unmasked Valari command ships floated quietly above Earth, no longer confident. No longer scanning. After the scout ship incident, they stopped testing boundaries. But the damage had already been done. They had seen a piece of what humanity was hiding, and now they couldn't unsee it. In their pride, they had come as observers. Now they stood like trespassers outside a locked gate. Ambassador Talek sat alone. In his private chamber, the lights dimmed. On the screen before him, the scout footage replayed in silence, the massive Terran ship rising from beneath the ocean. No weapons drawn, no warnings issued, but its presence was more threatening than Any open attack, the ship had chosen not to respond violently. That was the part that frightened him most. A quiet species is either afraid or planning, and Earth had no fear in its eyes. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital command, Commander Amina stood before a large transparent display. It showed all Volari ship positions. Dotted lines tracked their movement since first contact. Every drone they sent, every angle they tested. Have they stopped pushing? She asked. They've gone still. Her intelligence officer replied. No scans, no movement. But they haven't backed off either. Amina nodded slowly. They're hoping we'll speak first. She turned to the display and tapped a single blinking icon, the cloaked Terran ship. They'd revealed for only 3 seconds. Then let's give them something to think about. A message was broadcast across the Volari fleet. It came through every channel in every known language. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a demand. It was a statement. Calm, steady, unshaken. We welcomed you in peace. We showed restraint when you spied. We returned your drones without damage. We warned you without harm. This is not weakness, this is choice. If you still wish to understand who we are, then prepare to see the truth. No countdown, no visuals, just words. And then, in low orbit above Earth, the mask was removed. Across the night sky, 3 Terran warships decloaked at once. Massive, black, silent, no flashing lights. No dramatic entrance, just presence. They weren't built for display, they were built for control. Each ship measured kilometers in length. Not shaped like any Volari craft, no windows, no markings. Just smooth surfaces and shifting patterns like liquid metal. The warships hovered unmoving. Volari sensors scrambled. Defensive systems reported false alarms. Some systems crashed entirely. One Volari captain gripped the edge of his console. They didn't arrive, he whispered. They were already here. Asterisk back on the Volari homeworld. Panic spread through the council. Emergency meetings were held. Debates grew heated. Some wanted to pull the ships back. Others insisted on apology. A few even suggested retaliation. But when the footage of the warships reached the inner chambers, the room went silent. One elder, who had lived through 3 galactic conflicts, stood slowly and said, "You don't fight a species that chooses silence over pride." "Why not?" a younger voice asked. "Because that silence isn't emptiness, it's calculation." On the Volari flagship, Talek prepared a reply. He knew it had to be honest. Earth had not declared war. They had not shown cruelty. But they had made one thing clear: they could have done worse, and didn't. That was a message louder than gunfire. In the Earth command chamber, Amina listened to the response as it came in. Ambassador Talek wishes to request a secure dialogue, her comms officer said. Amina nodded. Open it. The screen blinked on. Talek's face appeared. Calm but pale. "We came believing you were just beginning," he said. "We see now, you were waiting." Amina didn't smile. She didn't raise her voice. "You were not the first to think that." Talek hesitated. Why hide this much power? Amina looked directly into the feed. Because when someone shows strength first, peace becomes impossible. We waited. We hoped you'd listen before we had to speak louder. And now, he asked, now you've seen us. She said, we'll see what you choose next. In orbit, the 3 warships slowly faded from view again. They didn't jump away. They simply vanished, slipping behind the veil of Earth's invisible reach. No one on the Volari side could say exactly how they cloaked. No one even knew where they'd gone, but every ship in orbit knew they were still there. Somewhere. Watching. Back on Earth, Amina stood at the edge of the observation deck as stars blinked in the distance. She knew this wouldn't be the last time. Others would come, some in peace, some not, but now the galaxy had been warned. First contact hadn't ended. In war. Not because humans were weak, not because they were kind, but because they chose peace. And because they were always ready to unmask the truth if pushed. Asterisk rewriting the Rules. The Volari ships no longer moved. Above Earth, they drifted like forgotten statues, their crews silent, watching the sky that had once looked harmless and welcoming. But now, they knew what lay behind that calm blue world. Warships that didn't blink. Technology they couldn't track. A species that smiled and still held the upper hand. Inside the command deck of the Celestian Grace, the mood had changed. Not fear, not anger, something harder to name. Respect. And maybe a little shame. Ambassador Talek stood near the window, staring down at the planet below. He thought about the first day he arrived, how he had smiled confidently. How he believed they had discovered a young, peaceful race. Now he knew better. Earth hadn't just been watching. It had been choosing whether or not to reveal the truth. And now the truth had been seen. He turned to his comms officer. Send my final report to the Volari High Council. The officer hesitated. What should the subject line say? Talek looked out again. Correction, the Volari High Council gathered for an emergency session. Every chamber seat was full. The broadcast from Earth played on a loop in the background, muted but always present. Talek's message appeared on the screen. It was short. To underestimate Earth is not a mistake. It is a lesson. To test them is not an act of power. It is a warning to yourself. And then he said the words that would be remembered for generations. They were not waiting to show strength. They were waiting to see who would deserve to see it. Across other systems, the news spread fast. Small colonies that once feared being left alone now whispered Earth's name like a promise. Perhaps they'll protect us. Perhaps they're watching already. Civilizations that had never even spoken to humans began redrafting their own contact protocols. Leaders paused before sending scouts. Armies reconsidered threats. Diplomatic teams studied Earth's entire history, and what they found? A species that had been broken more than once, a planet that had seen its own edge and still chose to come back stronger and smarter in one corner of space. A minor power, a race of raiders from the Voric belt sent a probe near Earth's boundary, hoping to test the rumors. The probe vanished within 30 seconds. No flash. No explosion. Just one return signal observed, logged. Future attempts will not return. The Voric scrapped their Earth plans immediately. Back in Earth's command chamber, Commander Amina walked the quiet hall of what they called the observer floor. A place filled with soft light, silent screens, and floating images of different worlds. Earth had watched but never touched. A team of analysts followed her through. One asked, "Do you think they'll back off permanently?" Amina stopped in front of one screen, a new system lighting up, a potential threat. "No one ever backs off forever," she replied, "but now, the rules have changed." She returned to her desk. A message waited for her from the VLARI. It was not marked diplomatic. It was marked recognition inside. A single sentence: "We no longer request alliance, we request understanding." Amina sat down, then sent a reply: "Understanding begins with respect. Respect begins with truth. You've seen ours, the next move is yours." She closed the message and leaned back. No drama. No celebration. Earth didn't need it. This was never about showing off. It was about setting the record straight. In orbit, the Valari ships slowly turned. One by one, they began to move away from Earth. Not in retreat. In reflection. No weapons were fired. No systems flared. Just quiet departure. As they reached the edge of Earth's territory, a final message appeared on their screens. No sound, just text: "You are always welcome." If you remember what we showed you, on Valari Prime, the High Council passed a new regulation. They called it the Earth Principle, a law that said, never assume the quietest species is the weakest. It was signed by every major faction in their government, and quietly endorsed by 5 other races who had watched Earth from afar. The galaxy had changed, and it hadn't taken a war. It had taken restraint. On Earth, Rema, now working as a cultural analyst, stood in a museum room titled First Contact, the Day of Patience. Children gathered in front of a model of the Terran warship that had appeared over the moon. One kid raised a hand. "Why? Didn't we attack them?" Rema smiled. "Because we didn't need to. They spied on us." The child said. "Yes," she nodded. "And we gave them a choice. What if they chose war?" Rema looked up at the model. "Then they would have seen what we do when the mask comes off in the dark corners of space." Whispers spread, not of Earth's guns, not of Earth's fleets, but of their silence. And how that silence was always the second away from something else. Not war. Correction. Asterisk. This time, they go. First, stars above Earth glimmered quietly, each one a witness to history across the galaxy. Silence had replaced arrogance. The Valari had left. Their curiosity was satisfied, their pride cracked, their laws rewritten, but Earth did not relax. Because peace was not a shield. It was a test, and someone else was always watching. Inside Earth's orbital command, a new signal appeared. It was different, not VLARI. Not from any known species, encrypted, sharp, purposeful. No request, no greeting, just coordinates. And one line, translated by Earth's AI within seconds: "We come not in peace, we come to claim." Commander Amina's eyes narrowed. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. "How close are they?" she asked. Her officer answered, "One system out. 27 ships, heavy combat design." Amina stood, calm as ever. "Prep response fleet." "But not like before." She paused, then added, "This times we go first, within minutes." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, 6 massive hatches opened. Water churned and boiled as the Leviathan-class vessels surfaced, silent titans, each one a fortress of black alloy. Powered by silent fusion cores and guided by intelligence beyond simple coding, they didn't roar. They moved. Fast. Precise. And they left no trail. The alien fleet moved into Earth's neighboring system, a small, uninhabited zone called Nix Ridge. They expected quiet. They expected another soft species with blinking lights and hopeful hands. They didn't expect the welcome. As they entered the sector, their long-range scans returned nothing. Dead silence. No planets, No ships. Just stars. And then their forward vessel stopped responding. Not destroyed, not damaged. Just gone on the bridge of the enemy flagship. Confusion spread. Redirect signals, barked the commander. Where's the scout ship? Gone, said his lieutenant. Explain. There's nothing to explain. No energy spike, no attack. Just no ship. Then, a light blinked on their console, a message. Burning in through blocked comms, we received your message. This is our reply. Suddenly, their systems rebooted themselves, cameras activated without input, internal lighting dimmed. Their own screens began showing maps they hadn't uploaded. Earth had already been inside. Commander Amina watched it all from Earth's command chamber on her display. The enemy fleet floated helpless. We gave the last ones a warning, she said. Let's make sure these ones don't get the idea that patience means weakness. The operator next to her looked up. Total shutdown or selective paralysis? Selective. She answered. Let one ship return, only one. She nodded. Let them tell the story. In the Nix Ridge, the enemy fleet began to fall apart, not from weapons, but from control. Engines failed, auto systems reversed, internal gravity twisted and locked. Their communications turned into echoes, and then 5 Terran warships decloaked. In perfect alignment, the invaders saw them for the first time. No light, no windows, just smooth, endless black. The ships didn't speak, they simply hovered until one fired a single, silent pulse. The lead enemy vessel vanished, not destroyed. Removed. From reality found the bridge of the last remaining enemy ship. Panic turned to disbelief. Who are they? The commander didn't answer. He couldn't. He just watched as his ships blinked out, one by one. No fire, no noise. Just removal. As if the universe itself was correcting a mistake. Only one vessel escaped, allowed to escape. It limped through space. Damaged but intact. Inside, the commander huddled in a dark corner. The stars outside no longer beautiful. He played the last message again. We received your message. This is our reply. He would repeat that line to every system that asked. Over and over until the galaxy understood. Earth did not wait anymore. They had offered peace. They had held their fire, but the moment another species declared intention to conquer, Earth chose a different path. They did not ask for permission. They acted. Back on Earth, a small classroom buzzed with young voices. A teacher stood in front of a holographic projection of Earth's history: wars, rebuilding. First contact, the Valari incident. A student raised her hand. Why did we stop waiting this time? The teacher smiled gently. Because we already showed who we were, and the next visitors weren't listening. Another student asked. What if others try again? The teacher didn't hesitate. Then we'll answer quicker. Somewhere in deep space, at the edge of the mapped galaxy, a transmission repeated every 6 hours on a neutral channel. A human voice, calm and steady. We are Earth. We offer peace. We offer respect. We do not ask to be feared, but we will not be tested twice. The message was simple, unchanging, and heard by more species than anyone would ever know.